Hello dear students, welcome back to your English class. So in the last class, as we were doing the chapter The Happy Prince, and we have discussed up till page number 29. Up till page number 29, the paragraph, "Why are you weeping then?" asked the swallow. "You have quite drenched me," right? That was the last line that we have discussed. So let us continue from there today. So yes, as this swallow asked to the statue of the Happy Prince that what is the reason behind weeping, then what happens after that? The Happy Prince narrated his story to the swallow, and the Happy Prince said that when he was alive and he had a human heart. Human heart means the heart which beats, okay, which is alive. And at that time, when he had a human heart and when the heart which was alive, at that time he was not aware what tears were and what sorrow was, as he lived in a palace where there was happiness all around. All the people who used to work in his court used to call him Happy Prince, and that was the reason, how he got his name as Happy Prince, because he used to be happy all the time and he had not seen what is sorrow, okay, what is sadness. And he also said that he lived happily and died in happiness only. Okay, so this was the conversation going on between the statue of the Happy Prince and the swallow. And he continues his conversation. He says that when he had a human heart, he never cried. In fact, he was not aware what tears were, because as I told you, he had seen only happiness and he never faced any sorrow. But now, when he was dead, okay, they had put him so high in the form of a statue on a pedestal that he could see the whole city and the ugliness of the city as well. He could see that there were so many people living in misery, lack of food, hunger, money, homelessness, right? And now when the statue's heart was made of lead, lead is a kind of a metal, okay. Now, although this metal, it did not have any feelings, but then also when it saw all the sadness, it became sad, and as a result it started weeping, okay. Now again, after that, the conversation goes on. So next, when the Happy Prince was telling his sad story, now the swallow was thinking about something else in his mind. The bird, that is the swallow, the bird wondered that the statue of the prince was not made of solid gold. It was surprised. The bird thought that from outside the statue was covered with gold, but as it said that the heart was made of lead and not of gold, then it realized that it was hollow and was not made of solid gold. It saw the statue was very sad and was crying. So as a result, the bird did not make any personal remarks. It did not comment anything about the statue because it was giving the value of the statue's feelings, okay. So after that, the statue continued its story. It spoke in a very kind of a musical voice that far away there was a house of a poor woman, and the window of her house was open, and it could not see through the window that she was sitting. Not that it could not see, it could see, the statue could see very well that the woman was sitting near a table. Her face was thin and she was tired. Her hands were rough and had become red because they had been prickled by the needle. The woman was actually a seamstress, okay. So the statue was describing all these things to the swallow, to the bird. The statue also said that the woman was embroidering flowers on a gown of queen's maid who would walk along with the queen during the court ball. The statue said that the lady who was embroidering the gown had a little child who was not well, In fact, he was suffering from fever and was asking his mom to give him some oranges. But as I told you, that a lady, she was very poor, and so when the small boy was asking for oranges and his mother was very poor, she had no money, she could only give him water, that also river water, and that is why the little boy was crying. So by seeing this scenario, the happy prince, the statue of the happy prince, requested the swallow to take out the ruby stone from the handle of its sword and give it to the lady. The statue also added that its feet were fastened to the platform, and because of which it could not move. Okay, the statue told to the swallow. Now again, the swallow replied that it had to go to Egypt. Remember last class I told you, actually the bird was flying towards Egypt, and that is where in between the bird thought of taking some rest. So when this particular statue, the statue of Happy Prince, told this bird that take out that particular this ruby stone from the handle of my sword and go and give it to the lady, and since I'm already fastened to this platform, I'm fastened means I'm fixed with this platform, so as a result I cannot move. Then the swallow says that, see, I have to go to Egypt and my friends are waiting there. Okay, my friends are waiting as they have already reached there, and my friends, they were flying near the river Nile and talking to the large lotus flowers which grew there. So soon they would go to sleep, and so therefore the swallow says that I wanted to reach Egypt at the earliest. Okay. Now the statue requested the swallow that to stay with him at least for one night. He asked him to be his messenger and work on his behalf. The statue said that the boy was very thirsty and his mother was very sad. So the bird should go and give the ruby stone to her. Once again, the swallow opposed his request, and the swallow said that, see, I do not like boys, so why should I help that boy? Moreover, I have to go to Egypt, right? But the happy prince was so sad that the swallow felt sorry for him, and the swallow said, chalo, okay. It was very cold there, but it would stay with him for one night, even though if it is cold, and in the very next morning it would do his work, okay, because it was cold that particular night. The happy prince thanked him, and finally the swallow took out the ruby stone from the happy prince's sword, and the bird took that ruby in its beak and flew over the town. As this bird was on its way to the poor woman's house, the bird passed the cathedral. I have already given you an assignment in the last class, right? What is a cathedral? It's a church, okay? And on the church tower, there was white colored marble angels. It was sculptured out here, okay? Angels. So this bird, then he reached the palace, he crossed the palace, and he could hear, when he crossed the palace, he could hear the sound of dancing, okay, from inside the palace. When this swallow was crossing over the palace, a girl came out on the balcony along with her lover. She was hoping that the gown which she had given to the seamstress for embroidery, remember the seamstress, the lady where actually the bird was going? So this particular girl who came out in the balcony along with her lover, she was hoping that the gown which she had given to the seamstress for embroidery would be ready on time. And she was talking about the same gown on which that lady was doing embroidery, and to whom the bird had to give that ruby stone, okay? Now, when the bird flew over the river, ships, and also whatever came along the way, there were lanterns hanging on their sails, and finally, after crossing all this, the swallow reached the woman's house. The boy was suffering from fever, and for that reason, he was not able to go to sleep. And so, the boy was turning left and right on his back, and even his mother was very tired due to working for long and had fallen asleep. Now, the bird, after keeping that ruby stone on the table, the swallow went near the boy as his mother was sleeping and no one was taking care of him. So, this particular bird, he goes near to the boy and it shook its wings near him. Okay, and the moment the bird shook its wings near him, and because of which this boy could feel the cool air, and the boy felt a little better. After which the boy felt that he was getting better, and he goes to sleep. Even he went to sleep. Now with this, we can now, from this, the lines that I have told you, with this we can make out that the swallow was also a kind-hearted bird, right? Because the statue did not ask the bird to go and give some kind of a cool air or to the small boy. What the statue only requested, the statue of the Happy Prince, just to go and deliver this stone. But by seeing that scenario, seeing the condition of the little boy, the bird felt pity, and he did by at his own will. Now after that, the swallow flew back and went to the statue of the Happy Prince and told him what all he had done. Okay, and now after coming back, as it was already cold, I told you previously, now the bird felt warm after returning back, and the bird says that it was something very strange that it was feeling a little warm, and even though the weather was very cold. To which the statue of the prince replied that the bird was feeling warm because it had done a good deed. It had helped someone. The bird had helped someone. So that was the reason that the bird was feeling warm. Okay. Now, next morning, the swallow bird went to the river and took a bath and thought that night he would reach Egypt. Okay, so he was very happy. So that by that particular night, the bird will start flying, and then he will go back to, along with, he will go and meet his friends, wherever his friends in Egypt. And so thinking that, the bird was really enjoying. So the bird decided that before I, start my journey for Egypt, let me just go around the city and visit all the monuments of the city. So the swallow bird visited all the monuments of the city, and finally, after the bird was done with the tour of the city, he went and sat on the high tower of the church. And now when it was night and the moon rose in the sky, then the swallow went to the Happy Prince and sought for permission to leave for Egypt. Okay, I hope you got up till this much, whatever I say. Okay, I shall end it here today. If I give you the whole at one go, you might not be able to digest it. Fine. So I'll end up today here. Today we have done up till page number 31. Go to page number 31 of your text, and you find the very first paragraph. Okay, there is a line written, when the moon rose, he flew back to the Happy Prince. Okay, and after that, have you any commission for Egypt? He cried, I am just starting. So up till this much we have finished. Okay, as I told you the last line, that when it was night and the moon rose in the sky, the swallow went to the Happy Prince and sought, which means asked permission to leave for Egypt. After that, what the statue of the Happy Prince replied, we shall continue that in the next class. Okay, please go through the text. I'm repeating again and after, go through the text Go through each and every word of the text, and even after that, if you have any doubt, you may get back to me anytime. God bless you.